welcome to my channel. My name is Autumn and this is my full wellness and self-improvement story. So my full journey all the way from when I was a kid to now. And then also I want to talk about the things that I am looking forward to and the things that I'm continuing to do, the goals that I have for myself still moving forward from here. So if you don't know me, like I said, my name's Autumn. I am a certified personal trainer, a certified nutrition coach. I am working on getting my yoga teacher license, and I have a degree in biology and a master of public health in epidemiology. What else? Oh, I'm also a title holder, a local title holder for the Miss America organization. I am Miss Megan, so then I will go compete for Miss Georgia, and then whoever wins Miss Georgia goes on to compete for Miss America. And I think that's everything. That's a little blur about me. So let's get into my journey. So, starting all the way back from when I was a kid, like elementary and middle school, I have always loved exercising. I've always known the importance of nutrition. And I really enjoyed exercising. I used to run up and down the road myself whenever I was a kid, or like run up and down the driveway. I love to swim for the exercise benefits. Like that was always something that I was like thinking in my head. I knew that exercise was good for you and exercise is the way to live a long, healthy life. And I like to do things like push-ups in my room, and I love to dance. I used to learn all of these dances. I would spend hours over like summer break when I didn't have classes in my bedroom teaching myself all these dances from like YouTube and stuff. For the exercise benefits. Like I knew that it was a good way to get out and move my body, and that's why I was doing that. So growing up, I always loved exercising. I always knew the importance of health and wellness, but I didn't really grow up in a very health conscious family or health conscious setting. So I never had like a gym membership. I never hired like a personal trainer. My parents tried to put me in group sports like softball. I did not like those though. I did competitive cheer for a little while, but I was always very, very introverted and very shy. And so these like group sports and like group activities, I didn't feel very comfortable because I just did not know how to communicate myself very well with other people, especially in that sort of setting. So I just never really enjoyed team sports or organized fitness things whenever I was a kid, but I did my own things that I personally knew I enjoyed, so dancing and running. But moving on, I hold myself to very high standards. So I have always been a perfectionist, as long as I can remember. I've always been very studious and cared a lot about my grades. Since middle school, I cared about making straight A's. All I wanted was straight A's. I didn't want anything less than like a 98 or 100. So I pushed myself really, really, really hard, especially in high school and late middle school. I stressed myself out to the point where I was actually experiencing physical symptoms of stress, and I wanted to be perfect, which perfect doesn't exist. So that's something that I've had to come to terms with and had to learn how to live with, the fact that I'm not gonna be perfect. I'm not gonna have perfect grades all the time in every single class, and perfect just doesn't exist. During this time also, I was going through a lot of personal stuff, mostly in middle school and early high school, a lot of family stuff. So my parents got divorced when I was in middle school, and then after that, into early high school, a very close family member of mine was struggling with an addiction. And so I was going through a lot at the time, and I think I kind of threw myself into school as a way to sort of cope with everything that was going on, and that's where I sort of started pushing myself really, really hard, and all I cared about were my grades. So moving forward into college. So again, I pushed myself extremely hard in high school, and I ended up getting into a really great university. I attended the University of Georgia, and it was my dream school since I was a little kid. If you're from the state of Georgia, you probably understand, or you have, I'm sure, whatever state you're from, you have a school that's very similar, that everybody grows up really, that's like the big school in the state that we all kind of want to go to. Not all of us, but I did, and it was a very big deal in my high school who went to UGA. So I got into UGA, and I was very nervous to attend such a big school. I came from a really small town. So I'm currently holding the title of Miss Macon because I'm from the Macon area, but I didn't grow up in the city of Macon. I grew up in a little tiny town just outside of Macon, about 30 minutes away, called Gray. And our population was literally like 3,000 people whenever I was growing up. Very small town. Everybody knew everybody. I knew pretty much everybody in my high school. My parents knew all of their parents. It was that sort of thing. So going from that to a huge university like UGA was a big adjustment, but I did not know at the time that this would be one of the most important 4 years, 5 years if you count grad school of my entire life. It changed my entire health and wellness journey forever for the better. So as I mentioned, I was a biology major and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I still don't really, if I'm being honest, but I thought I wanted to go to medical school, so I majored in biology. I changed my major a few times. I think I started out with biochemistry, and then I changed it to exercise science because I actually, again, I've always loved exercise. I've always loved moving my body, so I thought maybe I might want to pursue a career in physical therapy. So I changed my major to exercise science. I shadowed a physical therapist and volunteered in a physical therapy clinic, but I realized that it just wasn't really for me. It didn't feel right. So I changed my major to biology because there's just so many ways you can go with that degree. So majored in biology. I learned so much about nutrition, the importance of moving your body, and I really enjoyed my biology degree. And all throughout high school and all throughout undergrad, I was pushing myself so hard to the point where I got extremely burnt out. I mean, I was staying up until like 3 and 5 a.m. studying on the weekends, on Friday and Saturday nights. I would refuse to go out with my friends in college and do anything for fun because I thought any free time needed to be spent studying. That was the most important thing because I was so scared that if I didn't study, I was not going to survive at UGA at such a huge school. And honestly, it was a lack of confidence too. Now that I'm reflecting, all of that was just a lack of confidence in myself and in my abilities and in the fact that I belonged to UGA and that I deserved to be there. I really didn't believe that. And that led me to feel like I wasn't good enough, which led me to push myself extremely hard to sort of prove myself and prove that I was good enough, contrary to what everybody else thought, which was ridiculous. Like, nobody even ever said that. Nobody told me that I wasn't gonna do well at UGA or that I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. It was just a lack of confidence in myself and a lack of believing in myself, and I've had to work really hard to overcome the burnout, the stress management, prioritizing my sleep. Everything changed whenever I started getting a full night's rest. Everything changed. I was able to focus more. I was happier. I felt better. It was so much better. So yeah, I had to take an entirely different approach to my life and focus on having fun, social connections with my friends. I looked around in college and I realized that I didn't have any friends around my second or third year, except for one or two. Like, I had a couple of close friends and that was really it. Maybe my second or third year of college, of undergrad, my great-grandfather, who I was pretty close to him. We used to go to his house every single year for Christmas. He's my grandma's father, and I'm extremely close to my grandma. She's like one of the biggest supporters in my entire life. He passed away from a stroke, and because of that, I learned that he had strokes before. I think he had like 3 strokes throughout his lifetime. I didn't know anything about this really until he passed away because this was before I was born. I knew that he couldn't move very well, and I knew that he wasn't the healthiest and most able-bodied individual. But I thought that was just because he was an older individual. He worked on a farm for his entire life. It was very taxing on the body. And he also was a smoker. stuff like that. So I thought maybe that was why he just couldn't move very well, but it was because he had multiple strokes. And then I learned from my grandmother that strokes and high blood pressure are a huge problem in my family. So I had to do some reflecting. What am I going to do with this information from here? So that's when I decided to start going to the gym and start running. I couldn't even run a mile at first. Whenever I first started going, I literally would only run a quarter mile, and then I would walk a quarter mile, run a quarter mile, walk a quarter mile. And then I moved up eventually to where I was able to run half a mile and then walk a quarter mile, half a mile walk. And then when I was able to run one whole mile without stopping, I was so happy. I was so proud of myself. And the fact that I'm running half marathons now, I never thought that would happen. But that's why I'm telling this story, because I could not even run 1 mile whenever I started. So it truly is possible for anybody to take their life in a completely different direction. And that's what I did. So I started running, and then I was like, you know what? I want to do a little bit more than just running. I know that running is great exercise, but I know it's just cardio. I didn't know a lot about exercise at the time. Like I said, up until this point, I had never had a gym membership. There was a student gym at UGA, but I didn't really use it before now, except for the treadmill to go for my runs, maybe the stationary bike, stuff like that. Just cardio. That's all I knew how to do was cardio, really. But a friend of mine said that she also wanted to start going to the gym, and another friend, a mutual friend of both of ours, was already going to the gym pretty consistently. She had like a whole little workout routine that she did. So me and my other friend asked this girl to take us to the gym and show us all of the machines, how to use them, show us exercises and proper form, and different, like, just what to do at the gym, basically. So she was kind enough to do that. She did like an arm day, and then a chest and back day, and a leg day, and then I kept my cardio day in. So at this point, I was consistently going to the gym anywhere between like 2 to 4, maybe even 5 times per week, just depending on my school load in college and my workload. Like, I also had to have a part-time job throughout pretty much all of college. So just whenever I could fit it in, I would fit it in. My cat likes to play fetch, so that's why he just dropped his toy on my bed. But anyway, so yeah, I started going to the gym very consistently, and then I fell in love with it. I fell in love with working out. I loved how it made me feel, and I started going even more and even more and even more. And eventually running for me became sort of a mental and emotional exercise, as well as just a physical exercise. So when I got up to like the 5K distance, I was running for 30 minutes or more, and I just had my thoughts in my head and some music and Spotify on my phone and some earbuds. So I had to figure out how to sort of be alone with my thoughts for that long while I was running, because again, up until this point, I was studying every waking minute. So I didn't need to learn what to do with my thoughts, because I was pushing ideas into them from books and studying and studying and studying and drilling stuff into my head. So I wasn't really alone with my thoughts or anything like that until I started running longer distances, and especially when I started training for a half marathon. Because the thing about running that people don't really know unless you start running is that it's really a mental game more than your body can do a lot more than it thinks it can. Your mind is the thing that's going to give out first. So when you're running these longer distances, and I realized that pretty quickly, that your mind is going to tell you, hey, you've been running for a long time. It's time to you're really tired now. You should be really tired. So I had to learn how to sort of overcome that, because I knew that eventually I knew that my body could go longer than what my mind was telling it could. So I started using that as sort of a therapy, a meditation of sorts, a way to start thinking like, okay, I'm in the gym, I'm running, but as the perfectionist that I am, that's not enough. There's always more that I think I can do better. There's always another step for self-improvement after that. There's always something that you can improve. So as I mentioned, I didn't join any clubs. I wasn't in a sorority in college, nothing like that. So I was like, where can I meet people? I want to meet people and at my university do something that is going to force me to talk to people, new people. So what can I do? And I actually heard of somebody else that I knew who was competing in their college, their university pageant in Alabama. So I was like, wait a minute. They have a Miss insert the university here. I wonder if, I bet they have a Miss University of Georgia because this is such a huge university, and I'm sure that they have something like that. So I did some research. I ended up finding it. They did have a competition. They did have a Miss UGA competition. So I ended up joining that. I competed because I knew that I was going through a bad breakup at the time. I never had confidence before, ever. Not at any point in my life before college did I have confidence in myself. I had really bad negative self-talk habits, and I felt lonely. I was isolated. I was sad. Graduation was looming on the horizon. I had no idea what the future held. I was still pushing myself really hard in school. I was stressed about the future that was looming in the background. I was about to graduate from undergrad. I knew by this point that I was going to go to graduate school, and I knew what program, but that was only 1 year. So I had to start thinking about jobs, about what's next, a PhD program, a medical school. I had no idea. So that was stressing me out. And yeah, I was just very, very sad. I think this and then the end of grad school. The end of undergrad and the end of grad school were the two hardest times of my life. I think. I don't know. I've had some hard times, but I do think that those were just the two mentally hardest times. Like, I was in the mentally lowest point that I had ever been before. So by joining Miss UGA, I was able to sort of push myself and force myself to talk to all of the other girls who competed with me, get to know them. My goal was to try to talk to all of them at least once, just at least hi, how are you doing today? Because that's something that I was never comfortable with before. I did not know how to go up to somebody and start a conversation. I felt so awkward. In any sort of social setting, I was always the one who would kind of stick myself in a corner somewhere and watch everybody else because I just didn't know what to do. So I wanted to talk to all the girls, but then also I was going to be putting myself on stage in front of an audience where people were just going to be looking at me, and that was something that I never thought I would willingly do. I was terrified of public speaking. Again, this kind of relates to the lack of confidence, but I remember in middle school, in 6th grade, we had to give a speech to our class. It was literally just like a 2-minute long speech, but it was like you draw a word out of a hat, and like whatever word it is what you have to talk about for 2 minutes. So you don't know what it is until you get up there. So I had to do that, and when I tell you, not one word came out of my mouth for the whole 2 minutes, which, by the way, felt like 200 hours, of course. I stood in front of this middle school class. My face was burning, like it was so hot, and I was so red and flustered. So definitely never saw myself willingly putting myself on a stage in front of people again to speak. But that was, I believe personally that in order to grow, you need to challenge yourself. And you need to step outside of your comfort zone. You have to do something that makes you uncomfortable, something that scares you, something that you know you're bad at. You have to do it, and you have to try, and you have to just be okay with being bad at something. That was something that I did not understand before. I was a perfectionist, so I always had to be perfect at everything I thought. I mean, I didn't, but that was how I looked at life and myself. I hated anything that I was bad at. Any game that I lost, I didn't want to play. Ridiculous. I mean, you're never gonna have, life isn't fun that way. And it wasn't fun. I wasn't having fun in life at all. So being able to put myself on stage, do something very outside of my comfort zone, and learn how to honestly just learn how to love myself was the best decision that I've ever made in my whole life. So I competed in Miss UGA. I had zero intentions of winning. I was not there to win at all. Didn't even really want to. But I wore my old prom dress, which was too long. I was tripping over it the whole time. My talent was playing the flute, which I had not played since middle school. I was in the band in middle school. Oh, no, I'm sorry, high school. But I didn't play it all the way through senior years. So like it had been at least 4 years since I had touched that flute. I don't know what I was thinking, but it didn't go very well. But looking back now, it's really funny. So the way that Miss America works is you have a local level. So that's like Miss UGA or Miss Macon, Miss New York City or Miss Atlanta, Miss Miami, like stuff like that, like those local titles. And that was what Miss UGA was, but I didn't know when I signed up that, I mean, I did know, like, I found out pretty quickly, but I didn't sign up because knowing this. So that's the local level, and then you go on and you do like Miss Georgia, Miss Arkansas, Miss Alabama, whatever, and then you go on to Miss America. So that's the breakdown. Those are the levels, and then there's nothing after Miss America. So Miss UGA was a part of that local level. So whoever wins Miss UGA goes on to Miss Georgia, which was too much responsibility for me at the time. I did not want to win and go compete at Miss Georgia this year, that particular year, because I had a study abroad opportunity in Cuba that was a once in a lifetime opportunity that I simply could not pass up. So I didn't actually want to win. It was that study abroad was the same time as Miss Georgia. I had no desire to win. I just wanted to have fun and work on my social skills and work on that self-improvement. And just try something. So going in, knowing that study abroad was the same time as the competition really helped because there was no pressure because I couldn't win. So as like the perfectionist that I am, if that wasn't there, I still probably would have deep down like wanted to win. So that helped like manage my expectations and make me, that's what allowed me, I think, to help build my confidence. So I always struggled with confidence, but I think that by not like being able to win, even if I did win, I was like, oh, well, I don't feel bad about myself or my performance in this. I'm not gonna like criticize myself and compare myself to the other girls because I can't win anyway. So I'm literally just here to have fun and work on these parts myself. So yeah, that helped a lot. So yeah, I did not win, and that was very okay. But I did talk to all of those girls and I made so many friends and I just had the best time. I remember we had a dress rehearsal before Miss UGA and then the competition was the next day. And I left that dress rehearsal smiling, just a huge smile on my face. And I was just in the best mood ever. I told my roommate, who was my best friend all through, we were random roommates in freshman year of college, and she is still what I consider to be my best friend. I told her that I just had the best time and I could not wait to compete tomorrow and to see all my friends again and to see all these girls. So that was really a moment of self-reflection. I remember that night whenever I was getting in bed, I was thinking to myself like, wow, I've come so far in this little journey. I have done so much that I never thought that I would be capable of doing. And that was just an amazing feeling. So yeah, I competed in Miss UGA as that sort of social component and public speaking component, confidence, mental health, all of that it helped with. So I was just really proud of myself. I was thinking about all these things, all of these different parts of my life that I had improved in college and how I was just not the same version of myself that I was when I graduated from high school. And if you're the same version of yourself when you graduate from high school and college, if you're the exact same, you did not do college right. Because I don't know anybody who stayed even a little bit similar between their senior year of high school and their senior year of college. It's just such a huge time of growth. And that was definitely the case for me. So moving forward, my university had a program called Double Dogs, where you can get your bachelor's and your master's in a total of 5 years. So normally that takes 6 years, but they allowed us to start taking some of the graduate school classes while we were still in undergrad. So I did that because, again, at this time I still didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I knew that I wasn't ready to apply for medical school yet. So I just did the Double Dogs program. I found a program that I liked, a master's program that I thought I would be interested in, and it was the Master of Public Health and Epidemiology. So I started grad school, and I was still working out, still going to the gym very consistently whenever time allowed. This was also around the same time that I started listening to like some self-improvement podcasts. I kept hearing people talking about podcasts, and I was like, I just can't find one that I enjoy. I was looking at like comedy podcasts. I didn't really enjoy those, and just like all the like different subspecialties, subgenres, I guess you could say. And trying to find one that I liked, and I came across the Mel Robbins podcast, which is a self-improvement, self-growth, wellness sort of podcast, and I loved it. It was just, the information was great. As like a science major, I was like, wow, this is so educational. I am learning so much, and I just really loved it. And then that sort of got me into like some wellness podcasts and things like that. I'm working on my physical health, and I'm working on my social skills, and now I'm also working on my mindset. So this was when I started incorporating different things like morning routines. I had already been prioritizing my sleep before, but instead of prioritizing like a regular consistent sleep schedule, I was going to bed at like midnight and then sleeping until like 9 a.m., 8 a.m., whatever. And then like other nights I would go to bed at like 9 p.m. Other days I would go to bed at 2 a.m. I had no sort of consistent sleep schedule or routine at all. I was still working on my sleep, still struggling with like being a little bit tired sometimes. I was better because of the exercising, but still could use some help with the sleep. So creating a consistent morning and night routine. I got into journaling as part of my morning routine, and that led me into gratitude and manifestation, and just trying to think positively and sort of project that positivity out into the world. And I sort of took in this mindset that the world is what you choose to make it. So I can keep thinking about all this negativity, all of these negative thoughts that I've always thought about for my whole life that has just put me in a negative mindset and made me feel bad about myself. Or I can stop caring what other people think, stop caring about outside factors, and just start choosing to be happy and choosing to love myself, choosing to believe in myself, choosing to be confident, and most importantly, choosing to believe that everything will work out. Because up until this point, I was constantly stressed out. I was a ball of stress and anxiety because I felt like life was just scary. I started journaling, started practicing this, changing my thoughts over from negative to positive, which is still part of my process. I still struggle with this sometimes, but I'm working on it. So again, I'm competing in the Miss Georgia organization still. I knew that I was gonna come back and do that again the following year after I had such a great experience my first time. I was practicing positive mindset shifting and gratitude and manifesting what I want my life to be. What is my dream life, and how can I make that happen? And I was also going to the gym and still running and doing training for a half marathon by this point. And it's just amazing to see my journey. That was not where I was at all whenever I started college. And so this was just a very transformative time. So I get to grad school and I'm trying to figure out what's next. I'm still running 5Ks. I'm still training for a half marathon. The running was keeping me very motivated to keep exercising and to keep going to the gym and weightlifting. Signing up for these races, it kept me motivated and self-disciplined. So I'm in grad school. I'm working part-time in a hospital. I'm getting ready to compete for Miss UGA again. I'm training for a half marathon. I'm running 5Ks, and I'm still weightlifting at the gym. I'm also thinking at this time about what my next step is. I'm applying for jobs and internships and fellowships in my field. So again, I got my Master of Public Health and Epidemiology, but I didn't, at this point, I had no idea what I wanted to do, what the next step was. Again, I was right back where I was at the end of undergrad. And that put me in a really low spot because I kept getting denials from all these jobs. And I wasn't getting any interviews. I was putting in applications, like so many applications. Every day I was putting in applications. This was the point where I started to get very overwhelmed. And I was still trying to keep up with my fitness and my morning routine and all of these things, but it was definitely harder in grad school. So yeah, I was extremely stressed out. I went back to that negative headspace, negative mindset. I was thinking like, I'm never gonna get a job. Nobody's ever gonna hire me. I'm gonna have to move back home with my parents and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I felt awful about myself too because I had worked so hard and pushed myself so hard to make straight A's and to I did like research and research labs. I volunteered in like hospitals. I worked in a hospital. I had a part-time job in a hospital at the time, trying to get that clinical experience because again, I wanted to go to medical school at this point. So yeah, this was a pretty low point again. I started thinking of the worst case scenario, that was the truth. And I was literally like crying almost every night by this point. This was like April of grad school. So I was still training for my half marathon. That was keeping me grounded and sane. But also adding to all of that was going on, for going back to Miss UGA a little bit, I spent the entire calendar year from the time that I stepped off of that stage the year before, my senior year of undergrad, to the time that I went back for the very last chance that I would have, because once you graduate from UGA, and only students are allowed to compete for the title of Miss UGA. So I was about to graduate and then I would no longer be a student, which means that I would no longer be eligible. So this was my last chance, the second time that I would ever be competing for Miss UGA. And I really wanted this title because I did want to win this time. Because again, I'm a perfectionist. And so when I do something, it's really hard for me to be okay with not being great and amazing at it. So when I decided that I wanted to come back and compete in Miss UGA the following year to continue working on those social skills, the confidence and the public speaking and the interview skills, all of that, I also then wanted to win. I mean, you want to win the competitions that you sign up for, just like I want to win the races that I run. So I came back to Miss UGA the next year after, and when I tell you that entire calendar year was so devoted to preparing for Miss UGA and training for half marathons, that was like, and then of course like grad school and getting a job. But again, I'm trying to work on this work-life balance thing at the time. So I am still focused on grad school and getting a job, but my hobbies and my free time, I'm focused on, I want to win Miss UGA and I want to run a half marathon. So those were like the three things that drove me all the way through grad school. But I prepared for Miss UGA. I took a lot of time in my free time to prepare for that, and I ended up not winning the second year. My last chance to ever win. I did not win. So I was really disappointed in that. That was in January. And then moving forward, I was a graduate student. Moving on to March and April, my graduation was coming up very quickly in May, and I still did not have a job, internship, fellowship, nothing. I don't even think I had like one interview, but it didn't go well. So at this point, I lost Miss UGA after working for an entire year for it and trying to like manifest it. Like I was trying to like use the law of attraction to like attract it to me, as well as like practicing a lot and all of that stuff. I didn't have a job or any post-grad plans after I had worked so hard in school, so hard to get into UGA, so hard to keep my grades up and go to grad school, doing an internship, part-time jobs, all of that. Didn't have a job. So at this point, it was really hard for me to keep feeling positive. I did run the half marathon and I was extremely proud of myself for that. I did that in mid-May. But yeah, that was the only thing that was keeping me sane. But I was pretty low. I was in another really, really low point again by now. So remember I said that my two like really mentally low points were my senior year of undergrad and my senior year of grad school. So that was why, because of grad school. I really felt like a failure. I was struggling with my relationships with other people because of it. I wasn't a pleasant person to be around, so my friends didn't really want to be around me, which hurt my feelings. But looking back, I don't blame them. But it was just a terrible time. And I did not win the title of Miss UGA, but I was awarded the title of Miss Heart of the South, which I was very grateful for. I was extremely grateful and very happy whenever I did. I was awarded that title. And that meant that I would be eligible to compete for Miss Georgia. Going back to how Miss UGA fit into that local part of Miss America, that local level, if you remember. I was awarded Miss Heart of the South, that was also one of those local titles that was in that local level, which allowed me to compete for Miss Georgia, which was the goal. I really wanted to compete at Miss Georgia. There was no reason. I didn't have a job at this point. I didn't have an internship. I didn't have study abroad. Nothing was filling up my summer and not allowing me to compete for Miss Georgia. So this time I did want to. I really wanted to go to Miss Georgia and experience that. But the problem was, with everything else going on, the job applications was taking up all of my time. I was so worried about not having a job after I graduated that any free time that I had was spent either exercising to try to take my mind off of everything and how sad I was, or putting in job applications. So I did not have any time at all to prepare for Miss Georgia. I was not in a good mindset. I went to Miss Georgia. It was a good experience, and the Miss Georgia organization does a wonderful job putting together a really great production, but I just wasn't in the mental space that I needed to be in to fully enjoy it and appreciate it. So, it is what it is. So by April of grad school, I decided to get certified to be a personal trainer. I was still in love with the gym. I loved running. I loved weightlifting. I loved being in the gym. And I thought this would be like a good option too if I ended up not getting a job in my field with my degree. I could at least move back home and work as a personal trainer in a gym in Macon or in my hometown or something. And also it would just be good, even if I don't end up using it as like a employment thing. I was like, well, it will be good I'll learn so much. I will be able to improve my own fitness, and also like I can share that with other people. So I decided to get certified to be a personal trainer. I got certified through the National Academy of Sports Medicine, NASM is the abbreviation. So I started that process in April, right before my graduation. I graduated in May, and then I did end up, thank goodness, I did end up getting a job. The week right after my graduation, I got a job offer, and I was so happy. I literally cried like tears of joy this time. I could not have been happier. I could not have been more grateful. Throughout this whole process of trying to find a job, I was trying so hard to manifest it, but I didn't really have a lot of confidence in my ability to manifest it, because I was also trying to use manifestation to win Miss UGA, because again, like I tend to get kind of obsessive with like my perfectionism. Like I get so tunnel vision that's like I just think about that one thing so much. But I started doing some more research on manifestation after Miss UGA, because I was like, I feel like this just doesn't make sense, because I wanted to believe in it so badly. So I read the book The Secret, which I highly recommend it, and it helped me like realize that for manifesting goals, you can't really like manifest the specific outcome. It's not really what works best for me, at least. It works better to manifest the feeling of when I do achieve that goal and not tying it down to like a super specific outcome. So basically, to make this make sense, I was trying to manifest winning Miss UGA. So I was trying to picture myself on the stage in the dress with the crown on my head and the sash that says Miss UGA. And just like picture that. Like that picture running in my head was what I thought manifesting was. But really, what I should have been doing was imagining. And also, why did I want to win Miss UGA? It was really to go to Miss Georgia and because I love my university. But really, the overall thing that I could have done better now looking back, I think, is instead of just picturing myself with the crown on, thinking about how much work I've put in and how far I've come, and genuinely how I was so proud of myself for working so hard for an entire year. Like, it felt like a New Year's resolution type of thing where, like, I walk off the stage from Miss UGA the year before saying, oh, well, I'm going to work really hard and try to come back and actually win next year. But then, like, a couple months after, like, I kind of fall off and I forget or I just, like, lose interest. I was really scared that that was going to happen. But I didn't. I made it the entire year with very consistent practice and prep. And I had come very, very far. I did so much better the second time, no matter what the outcome was. And I should have been thinking about that in my manifestation. How am I gonna feel when I'm on that Miss Georgia stage? Because again, that was really the goal. So that's a sort of what I've learned and a tip for maybe you if you're just starting this journey. Maybe try that and try things like that instead. Try not to just tie it down to one specific outcome. Try to just like manifest the feelings and the progress and enjoy the journey, not so much focus on the destination. That's really that's a good way to summarize it. Like, yeah, focus on the journey and not just the destination. So for me, I was just focused on the destination. I only wanted to finish my half marathon, for example, or win Miss UGA, get a job. I wasn't focused on the prep for Miss UGA. Like, I was doing it, but I wasn't thinking about that whenever I was manifesting and trying to put this reality out there. I was just like, destination. And the same for the half marathon, like focusing on the journey. As I've learned to focus on the journey and not just the destination. So now every run, I focus on how much better I've done, or if it was a difficult run, because running is like really hard to predict. You have good days and you have bad days. So if it's a hard run, I can think about, hey, but I'm still doing it, and that's really good. So just like the journey instead of the destination has made me a lot happier focusing on that. And I think that's a tool that I use to remind me what manifestation really is and how it really helps. So I decided to get this personal training certification, and I was doing my research and looking at different programs, and there was a deal, NASM, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, I'm just gonna call them NASM, which is who I got my certification through. They were having a deal where I could get a personal training and a nutrition coach certification for like only a little bit more than the regular personal training one. So and they were like it was a lot of money that I was saving. It was like few $100s. So I was like, great, that's awesome. I would love to learn more about nutrition, and I would love to learn more about personal training and fitness. So I started both of those in April because of the deal. Like, I didn't want to miss the deal. Otherwise, I would have maybe waited until like May when my school load was a little bit lighter, but it didn't end up really mattering. So I started those, and then I worked on them just when I could. And I ended up getting my certification for personal training in November. And then I got my nutrition coaching certification just earlier this year, so more recently. But I learned so much in those two classes, and I also learned that I have a very big passion for wellness and health. Huge passion. I loved learning in these classes, and I loved doing the readings, and I loved the information so much. I fell in love with it. I enjoyed studying and going through the course and applying this stuff in the gym. That's what I really liked. I liked having, and anatomy was my favorite class, one of my favorite classes in my biology program too, and that makes sense because I enjoyed like being able to apply what I was learning and know what everything was called and how to do everything and the right technique for everything and stuff like that. So loved health and wellness, and I knew that at this point. And so I started to take this further, and I wanted to share this with other people. And so for the Miss Georgia organization, everybody chooses a community service initiative is what it's called. And mine, up until this point, was based on autism, but I didn't really have like a super big passion for it. I didn't really have like a big connection to it. I just kind of had to choose something, and I mean, it was like I enjoyed the volunteer work and I believed in the community service, but it just wasn't my passion and it wasn't the right one for me. But it was the only one. I didn't have time to change it before Miss Georgia whenever I competed as Miss Heart of the South. So I just kept it. But I ended up changing it after that. Right after Miss Georgia, I ended up changing it to the Wellness Blossom. And I had graduated from college, from grad school at this time. I started my job at this time. So late June of last year, of 2024 now. I've graduated from graduate school and I'm working on my personal training certification course and my nutrition coaching course. And I'm learning about health and wellness and all of these aspects of wellness, of holistic wellness. And I knew that this was what I wanted to do my community service initiative with. I knew that I wanted it to be wellness. I thought of the name The Wellness Blossom. I loved that name so much. It just came to me. Like, I was thinking of all these different names. There were a few other options, but I fell in love with The Wellness Blossom, the name. I loved it. And then immediately the vision came to life. Instantly. The color scheme, like for the theme and the logo of The Wellness Blossom, and it was inspired from my entire journey. So my great-grandfather, my family history of strokes, and I'm able to just literally talk about what I love. And so I knew, as soon as I changed it, I knew that this was the right community service initiative for me and the right platform for me and the right area for me. I knew from my personal training certificate that this was the right field for me, and I just love health and wellness so much, and that's really my passion, and that is part of why I chose biology. It's part of why I chose public health. It's all connected to that deeply rooted passion for wellness and stroke prevention and a healthier community and encouraging nutrition. And I do much better mentally outside of school. Like, my mental health is better because I'm able to, I have time with my job, I have time for running, I have time to train for my half marathons, I have access to a fitness center and time to use it without having to worry about studying, and time to relax and watch TV in the evenings, time in the mornings to have a nice morning routine without rushing to class or rushing to get my homework finished. So my mental health is much better now that I have a job and I've started and I have all this time to work on my personal training certificate course, and I got that and I'm using that now, and running and training for my half marathon. So also now I have more time for social media and content creation, and I have something to create content about. I've always used content and wellness content from YouTube. Like, whenever I was a kid, I used to like look for like workouts, like home workouts on YouTube, and I used to grow up like I would watch like wellness like content, health-based, fitness-based content. So I actually feel like I've accumulated a lot of knowledge over the years, and I just want to continue to share my journey and share my knowledge that I've gained, and maybe this can help if you're on your wellness journey. But I'm going to tell you kind of where I'm at and where I'm looking to go from here. So right now I am working as a part-time personal trainer, and I could not be more grateful to say that. I love it so much. I am working as a cardiology researcher, which I also love. I'm very passionate about that because my passion for health doesn't just apply to the fitness community, it is overall health and keeping our communities healthy as a whole. So I love my job as a cardiology researcher so much. I could not be more grateful. So I'm a personal trainer, I'm a researcher. Finally, everything is worked out just like I tried to tell myself to manifest that it would, to believe and to trust that it would. But this is my current vision board back here on the wall. So I'm still practicing all of these things, and I'm still working on positive thinking and shifting those negative thoughts over to positive ones. That's still difficult sometimes for me, like especially if I've had a rough day, if there's like things that keep coming up. I feel like, this is just a bad day, but I try not to think, I try to shift that over to like, don't say that, because then it's could really end up being a bad day. But I still struggle sometimes. It's definitely hard to push those negative thoughts out. So I'm looking to get better at that. And I'm looking to get more consistent with journaling. I'm not the most consistent. I'm not as consistent as I want to be. I do not journal every single morning. Honestly, I would say that realistically, I only journal like once or twice a week, but I'm working on that now. I'm trying so hard to journal every single day. I'm posting on social media, and I love the content that I'm creating. My plan for YouTube is to post updates on my life from here. So I've talked about how I've improved my fitness journey, my nutrition, my mental health, my sleep, my stress management, my social connections, my confidence. I've talked about all of these different areas of self-growth. So now I want to put that on my YouTube and continue to document that and give any updates in any of those areas. Since I am a certified personal trainer now, and I am working on getting my yoga teacher license, I am putting workouts on my YouTube as well if you want to check those out. If you're interested in any like home workouts with like, I try to do some with like minimal equipment as well as like in the gym, in case you're like I was in college and you just don't know where to start in the gym. Those can help. So that's kind of my plan. If you're interested and you want to follow along, I would love it if you would hit the subscribe button. But I'm still running half marathons. I have run 2 half marathons so far. My first one was in May of 2024, and then I ran another one in November of 2024. And I am currently training for another one, which will either be in April or May. I'm not sure yet. So I'm training for that. And I want to run another one, or I want to run that same one that I ran in November of 2024, in November of 2025. And then I think I want to expand and start doing triathlons. So maybe by the summer, I'm hoping that would be really cool if I could finish a sprint triathlon by the summer. If not, then next year for sure. One day it would be really awesome if I did a half Ironman, but we're just gonna have to see where my journey takes me. That's a very long-term goal. I want to continue. I have had the time this time around to devote to Miss Georgia Prep and my Miss Macon and my work with the Wellness Blossom, and I have a CSI that I'm very passionate about now, and I've been doing some really awesome things that I'm really proud of for Miss Macon, and that's been amazing. That's a huge improvement from last year. So I want to just keep improving on that and see where that journey takes me, see where that road leads. What else? I want to work on reading more. I don't read as much as I would like to. I would rather like watch TV. I hate to say that, but it's true. I would rather watch it on TV than read it in a book. So I want to work on reading more books. I prefer nonfiction. I want to read. I've started The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, but I have taken a break and I need to get back into it. So yeah, I want to read more. And I am also getting my yoga teaching license, and I am so excited. I am loving this. I've been loving yoga. So I'm a certified personal trainer, but I started wondering like what else I could do in the fitness industry. Just like what else could I learn? I love learning, and so being out of school has actually been so much fun. for somebody who loves learning, because now I can choose whatever I want to learn. So I chose fitness and wellness based stuff because that's what I'm very passionate about, and I enjoy learning those things so much. It's like fun for me. So I'm doing my yoga teacher training. I only just started, so I think I bought it and started it last week, but I am doing a 14-day yoga challenge right now on my social medias, on my YouTube shorts and my TikTok and my Instagram. And I just do, like, I talk about what I've learned during that session, what I learned in maybe my yoga teacher training for that day, just to like sort of jumpstart that. So that I'm excited for that. And yeah, I really just want to stay consistent with my wellness content creation, because again, it is truly a huge passion of mine. And looking back, I realized that it always has been. Being able to share what I've learned has been so much fun, like genuinely so much fun. So I want to stay consistent with that and just keep learning myself. I want to keep learning more things in the health and wellness industry, more tips and more ways that I can improve myself and just continue to grow and improve. And you will never be perfect, so there's always more that you can work on, but it's also good to reflect on how far I've come. So I guess that's it for this. Is probably going to be a pretty long video, but I just thought it was important to introduce myself and to talk about my entire journey and to tell you what I want to do from here, and just get to know me a little bit better. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments, or if you have any suggestions for anything else that I should try out in my wellness journey, any other goals I should add, or anything that you relate to, you can drop that in the comments too. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.